Today here in Indianapolis, we could witness something that hasn't happened in IndyCar history in 45 years. That is a driver winning a 6th title. The only other one to do it is AJ Foyt. It could happen today for Scott Dixon as Firestone presents the Harvest Grand Prix of Indianapolis here on this second day of a doubleheader weekend. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy, Kevin Lee and Dylan Welsh patrolling the pit lane. This has been a fantastic weekend. It is the second to last race of this 2020 season. On the left-hand side of your grid, the pole position master, Will Power, is now within 6 of tying Mario Andretti. He shares that front row with Colton Herta. There is Scott Dixon, the driver I was talking about in the PNC Bank Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. He has led this championship every step of the way. However, his championship lead has been diminishing over the last handful of races and diminishing to this man, the two-time and defending champion of Team Penske, Joseph Newgarden in the Hitachi Chevrolet. So, is it going to get closer, or does Dixon put it beyond doubt and beyond reach here today? It is all to play for over 75 laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. It's Team Penske and Andretti Autosport, Will Power and young Colton Herta on the front row, ready to bring the action at the Brickyard. And yesterday's race was phenomenal. We hope for more today as Power goes.
Green flag comes out with a huge early jump from Will Power. A lot will get sorted out down here in turn 1. Heavy on the brakes, 4 wide, tire smoke, Paul. Action is fast and furious already.
Great start by Will Power. He cut off across the front of Colton Herta, and then Colton Herta made a nice braking move to clear Alexander Rossi as the field rounds through turn 4.
Watch that orange and blue PNC car of Scott Dixon. He has to survive the chaos with no contact, but he's got 20-year-old rookie Rinus VeeKay with a run. Look at Dixon further back trying to block. VeeKay pops out.
VeeKay, super aggressive young driver. He's in the battle for the Rookie of the Year championship. It looks like he's got a lock on that now. He's got his teammate Rosenquist now is going to protect Scott Dixon, Lee.
Yeah, some protection there in that black and blue NTT data car by Felix Rosenquist for Scott Dixon, but it's Will Power, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, and then Alex Palou has lost a position to Pato O'Ward in the Arrow McLaren SP car. On the inside is the Indy 500 champ Takuma Sato.
Little contact with James Hinchcliffe right there, who's filling in or has replaced Zach Veach.
Sato muscled Hinchcliffe off, then Hinchcliffe came right back and muscled Marcus Ericsson over. We ride on board with 3-time Indy 500 winner Helio Castroneves.
Oh, this is going to get wild. 3 wide on the front straightaway. A preferred line for Castroneves, way late on the brakes, and makes a nice pass contact with Max Chilton.
Here comes Pagenaud in that black and white and silver Chevrolet, the DMC technology machine. Physical on these opening laps. That's Sebastian Bourdais in there in the black car for AJ Foyt Racing, returning to IndyCar as the 4-time champion.
The race yesterday was 85 laps. Today's race just 75 laps. That's why you're seeing the urgency to get track position and make moves now.
Max Chilton got freight trained by 4 cars by trying to make a pass on the front straightaway. If you lose your momentum with these cars, you will get passed by other cars behind you.
And guys, look who are together on track. Car number 1, Joseph Newgarden, right behind him, the guy he's fighting this championship, Scott Dixon.
That puts pressure on Newgarden. Scott Dixon just needs to stay close. That really is all that matters for Dixon right now, is to stop the slide in the championship that he's given up points-wise. If Dixon just stays tight with Newgarden, he'll go into the final race with a massive advantage.
And let's not forget this, guys. Newgarden is in the middle of that pack of cars. He's a Chevy driver. All those guys around him are Honda. Don't think for 1 second that there's not going to be some team, engine manufacturer help with these guys to try to help Dixon win this championship.
The Gainbridge Honda of James Hinchcliffe, as Paul mentioned, he has taken over from Zach Veach, who stepped aside from this ride for the final 3 races of the 2020 season. Whether that leads to a full-time drive next year for the mayor of Hinchtown, we will wait and see.
The Marco Andretti down the inside of Hunter Reyes' teammate. Nice clean pass.
GMR track facts there. Have a look at the most important number, I think, on that is 247 on-track passes yesterday. It was exhilarating, it was energy sapping, and just think about the 25 drivers here. They have to do it all again. They are doing it all again here today.
Hunter Reyes struggling. He's struggling. Got passed by his teammate
Clear.
now Newgarden.
Clear about 1. Clear about 1.
Now keep in mind, Two different tire compounds available from Firestone for this race. Hunter Ray on the black sidewalls. Newgarden just went by on the red sidewalls. Most of the drivers starting the race on red tires.
Jack Harvey down the inside of Graham Rahal. Little squeeze job there.
So there you see the Firestone tire strategy, the primary tire and the alternate tire. Now these are the same tires as the last time we raced here on 4th of July weekend at the Indy GP. And let's head down to Kevin Lee, because Kevin, a lot of drivers do not have more than just one set of the new reds. They used them up for qualifying.
Yeah, different situation this weekend with a double-header race. Alex Palou, who started up fourth, is on the used set of the softer compound, the better tire. So that's a little bit of a different situation for him. Of those starting in the top 9, the only one to start on the harder primary, Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's hoping just to hang on, but he's already lost quite a few positions. But he is the only one starting up front that has 2 new sets of the red softer compound. So he might be a factor later on in the race.
Tell you what, guys, Dixon is not really pressing to come through this field. Obviously, Newgarden has gotten by Hunter-Reay, but Dixon right there, a little bit of a gap to Hunter-Reay. He needs to start pushing forward.
Dixon really struggled yesterday over the longer run and losing the rear tires in terms of rear grip, especially right here in the brake zone in turn 1. Now you can adjust the brake distribution front to rear with the brake bias knob, so I would imagine Dixon's made that adjustment for today. This is his teammate, Felix Rosenqvist. As you see, the PointsBet Sportsbook, something new for this year. You can bet on IndyCar, and there you see the odds. Dixon plus 900, so effectively 9-to-1 odds.
The NTT data on board of Felix Rosenqvist, who raced up front yesterday, did a really nice job. Rosenqvist at the moment is outside the top 10 with some work to do. Race leader, Will Power, just under a second out in front of Colton Herta. Dylan Welsh doing a nice job early on.
Yeah, he is indeed, Lee, and has the advantage of sticker red tires on the race car here to start things off. Started on reds yesterday as well, and that was the message from strategist Ron Rzuski. We got to be on offense here early, take advantage of these red tires. They, of course, have another set of scuffs in the pits, but really important for these guys to just start off strong, take advantage of those sticker tires. So had a decent day yesterday speed-wise, made some changes to the balance overnight. Feel like that's going to obviously help them. It did help them, obviously, in qualifying. Had a really close call during the race yesterday, coming onto the front straightaway part of the racetrack, but going much smoother today, and you'll see that close call here yesterday at the top left of your screen.
It took Paul Tracy and Townsend Bell's breath away as former IndyCar drivers, they knew Will Power was looking straight at that white safety barrier right there, and he said that was the biggest save, the biggest catch of his racing career. That says a lot. He knew that that was going to be massive, right, fellas?
Well, it was certainly not looking good for him, but right now everything's looking good. I can hear just by the throttle, Townsend, a little bit of fuel save going on. To do this race in 2 stops, you're going to have to save a little bit of fuel.
Live from New York, it's Saturday Night Live with host Chris Rock and special musical guest Megan Thee Stallion. It's the season premiere of SNL later tonight, and it's going to be hilarious with Chris Rock, of course. This beautiful aerial coverage brought to you by Geico of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on a cool but comfortable Saturday afternoon on this double-header weekend in the NTT IndyCar Series. That's getting very close to crowning a champion and ending the season. The end of the month on the 25th in St. Petersburg, Florida. Will that title be decided today, though? However, this is part of a big weekend of action here. Yesterday's opening leg of this doubleheader, fellas, was scintillating.
Opening leg, the whole race was non-stop action. The lead was being swapped back and forth with these 2 young Chargers, 20 years old, these guys. And then Colton Herta makes a mistake, gives up the lead to Joseph Newgarden. Joseph never looked back after that.
Herta battled all the way to the finish there with his teammate Alexander Rossi, who came home on the podium. But up front, it was all Joseph Newgarden, exactly when it needed to be all Joseph Newgarden, as he closed within 40 points of Scott Dixon in the championship with that move. Now Hunter Ray comes to pit lane, wants to get rid of those harder black tires, Kevin.
Well, I think he might have also had some contact. I just heard him radio it in, right front wing. Let's see if they do anything with the wing. They'll change the Firestone, first of all, and top them off with Speedway fuel. As you see, they didn't need a whole lot of fuel. Are they going to change the wing? No. Really early on, I can't find anyone, though, of the strategists or drivers that tells me any way a three-stop strategy is going to work out. So I got to believe they had a puncture or something going on there.
Well, we saw Elio Castroneves come to pit lane during the break.
That was a really sloppy pit stop. The wheel nut. Oh, there's contact right here with Scott Dixon when Scott Dixon made the pass on him, but he came in, and that was a sloppy stop as well. The wheel gun got stuck under the front tire, and the guy couldn't get it off. So 9-second stop. They do these stops in under 7 seconds consistently.
Sealmaster Honda, the black and fluorescent yellow, is Santino Ferrucci, who's really been in the thick of it the last couple of races with some controversial moments with drivers. There's been contact and spins and off-track and collisions, but he is off to a really good start today as Hunter Ray comes back out with the veteran, the three-time Indy 500 champion, Elio Castroneves, in the Arrow McLaren SP machine. The Mission Foods onboard shows us the action. Elio is back in, subbing for young Oliver Askew, the rookie who stood on the podium this year, but he's had several big crashes and decided that it was best to seek some medical attention. He's suffering concussion-like symptoms.
Dude, that's how you do it.
IndyCar's medical examiner and medical staff said we don't recommend that it is the right thing to do to drive. So Elio was here. Elio had been talking to the team anyway about maybe any future prospects because his tenure on the IndyCar side of things with Team Penske seems to have come to an end after 20-odd years. A phenomenal run, and he's chasing a championship in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series.
Jiffy, both of these drivers pitted to make it a three-stop strategy, but watch this. Castroneves on board now. Watch the contact again for Hunter Ray. Hip check going into the S's on the backside. So both of these drivers on the same strategy, and Castroneves just lunges it into that final corner before the short chute and takes the position. It's getting argy-bargy early for Hunter Ray.
This is playoff hockey, guys. They got elbows up. Heavy-duty body checks going on. We got more pit stops as the Tresiba car. Charlie Kimball, AJ Foyt team up 7 positions by the time he comes in, but going off strategy.
So good early work there from Charlie Kimball. It's been a good year as far as laps completed. He's in the top 5 on the list of that chart as far as consistency is concerned. This guy is at the top of the chart. Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden have completed every single lap of this 2020 racing season, and they're the only two to do it. The Firestone biggest movers shows us that Dixon is the biggest at 4 positions made up from the start.
Losing more points, so the points now is 33 points. Point lead for Scott Dixon over Joseph Newgarden, so that trend is still going in the wrong direction.
Remember, Newgarden and Dixon were running nose to tail. Now Newgarden finds himself up the road in 7th, but once again, Dixon is on the harder black tire, so he'll be a lot faster once he goes to the red.
His side pod, his underwing is broken. If we can get a camera on Dixon's underwing, there's a big section of carbon that has a hole in it that I just saw.
Probably from the contact with Hunter Ray earlier. We have some radio from Rossi. Let's listen.
Fine right now. I'm quicker than Colt, but as long as he can stay on power, it's fine. Yeah, right now you seem a little stronger than he is. Just make sure we're looking after the equipment. Get to the end of this stint. Yep, already doing it.
Good coaching from the pit box there from Rob Edwards, his longtime strategist, saying, I know you might be faster than your teammate up ahead, but just look after everything. Get through this opening stint as we race lap 13 of 75. Nobody has headed Will Power up front. He's led all 12 laps thus far and has been very smooth and consistently more than a second out in front of Colton Herter. Quick reminder, the Cup Series playoffs continue on the high banks of Talladega. The round of 12 action will only get more intense, as we know, as drivers look to avoid the big one, which always happens at Talladega. We'll find out who will advance to the round of 8. Find out tomorrow, 2 Eastern, on here on NBC. Denny Hamlin, by the way, starts on the pole position, and last weekend's winner, Kurt Busch, who won at home in Las Vegas for the first time, he's up there as well. Kevin Lee, we got problems for Scott Dixon. big issues on the side of that PNC Bank Honda.
So we just checked in with Mike Hull, the managing director for Chip Ganassi Racing, and I said, is there any damage? He said no. I repeated the question. He said no. Maybe it's a matter of it's just not impacting anything for Scott Dixon.
It's certainly impacting him, because look at this replay. He makes the pass, and this is the hit with Hunter Ray. He hits the curb, bang, right into the side of the car, Townsend, and now there's a big hole in the under tray of that car, and you can see it right here, and that is slowing the car down on the straightaway. Look, you can see right into the underwing of the car.
It's losing downforce would be my guess, and to your point, Paul, adding drag on the straightaway. And now what we saw during the break is Felix Rosenqvist, Scott Dixon's teammate at Chip Ganassi Racing, in that number 10 black and blue car, is running cover for Dixon. He's lifting on the straight so as not to pass him.
On the backside of the track here, when we get to the front straightaway, you'll hear he has to lift off the throttle, so he's really just playing as a protector for Dixon to help him win this championship. They're catching now Marco Andretti, but look at, there's a huge gap to the next group of cars.
So Rosenqvist is covering. If Rosenqvist passes Dixon, Dixon loses more points in the championship battle. Let's just listen down the front straightaway to see if Rosenqvist is still lifting.
Lifted off way early in the brake zone, so coasted it in. So that and saving fuel. This is the section here, Townsend, where that underwing is really going to affect the car.
And watch Dixon here.
All the downforce section here.
Look at how slow he is to be able to get onto power there. He is on the harder black tires as well, which makes things a little more difficult. Now, it's fine for Rosenqvist to run cover, but he's got James Hinchcliffe right behind him, and Hinchcliffe doesn't want to sit around in 13th. He's ready to go forward.
So how about this, mate? Last weekend at Mid-Ohio in your AIM Vassar Sullivan Lexus, it had early damage. Out comes the crew with like the giant duct tape, the bear bond, and they put it on your hood and on the side. I've never seen that in IndyCar racing, but is that a possibility to put a couple of strips of bear bond on there to cover it up?
If it'll stay on.
But you don't have much time on a pit stop. We have 40 seconds in sports cars to take the fuel. You're talking 7-8 seconds max in IndyCar. It has not been good at all for Scott Dixon the last few races. Mid-Ohio was a doubleheader a couple of weeks ago. Dixon with a big spin out of turn 1, finished 10th. Second race, 10th. And then yesterday, more problems for Scott Dixon. He comes home 9th. Now, got to remember, 5-time champion here who started this 2020 season going first. And that's what led to the huge lead that has now been evaporating over the last few races.
He's never done that in his illustrious career, winning the first 3 races of a year. He's led the championship points every step of the way. His opponent, his rival for this title, is the reigning series champion, Joseph Newgarden of Team Penske, who has won this NTT IndyCar Series title twice. Let's have a listen to some radio.
I think 127 is too ambitious. I agree. That's what I'm telling you, 87 is all you need. Keep catching those guys.
Working his way forward, trying to make a fuel number. He says it's a little bit too ambitious, meaning too hard to make. So they just said, as team leader there, said just keep pushing forward. He's gaining points right now on Scott Dixon, and that's all he has to do.
And he's gaining speed on Jack Harvey. Watch this move from Newgarden. Which way will he go?
Looking here. Lucky. He's there. Clear.
Nice move.
Here from the Auto Nation, Sirius XM Honda of Jack Harvey, the British driver, for Meyer Shank Racing. Huge news for them. Liberty Media has invested in this organization out of Ohio, and huge growth for them coming. NBC's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by Firestone. Drive the tire that drives IndyCar legends. NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. We welcome you back to the Firestone Harvest GP here in Indianapolis on a lovely day. It's 62 degrees, comfortable, really good to go racing. And there are fans here. A maximum of 10,000 have been allowed right here in the Speedway Turn 4 complex, and also up in Speedway Turn 1 for the final turn on this road course. As we welcome you back, Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Dylan Walsh and Kevin Lee, watching a good fight for second between Andretti Autosport teammates. Let's go on board. Let's take a ride with Alexander Rossi.
He said earlier that he was happy to sit behind Colton Herta. If he could stay with power, he's losing pace to power now, so he's looking a little bit more urgent to get by.
Those do not look like happy hands to just sit and ride behind Colton Herta. Those look like angry fast hands we've seen before from Alexander Rossi. You saw him get on the push to pass button there on the short straightaway.
Little loose in right there.
And Rossi, I think, wants to get by now. He can see power disappearing into the distance with that 3-second lead, and it's time to go.
Rossi, who has had one of his most frustrating seasons on record, and he's winless. That hasn't happened in his IndyCar career. He won in 16, he won in 2017, he won in 18 and 19. He is yet to stand on the top step of the podium. But speaking of a podium, this Californian has 3 podiums in succession. Today could be 4. He'd like to go for the win. But look who's arrived on the scene. Young Pato Award in the Arrow McLaren SP Chevrolet. Here he is.
Colton yesterday struggled to keep those red tires underneath of him, and he's struggling right now. Now the pack is starting to catch him, and power is out to almost a 4-second lead. So urgency now is high for Rossi.
Now you have to keep in mind that we're about to see pit stops, Kevin. Lap 24, we think lap 25 we'll start to see a bunch duck in.
Keep an eye on Colton Herta as well. Remember yesterday he lost the lead late because he was losing the rear tires on that softer red sidewall compound. Alexander Rossi a few laps ago said, I can see him losing the rears, and Rossi is caught up by about a half a second to a second since then.
Very cool to have Zach Brown, the boss of McLaren Racing, here over from the UK base to cheer on his young charge. Here is Joseph Newgarden, and during the break, boys, you had an observation of his car. What's going on?
Well, it's bottoming a lot. You can see the rear of the car is very soft. See the smoke coming out from the back. Watch, bang, right here, bang. You see the rear going up and down and up and down. So that car is very soft in the rear, which makes a lot of rear grip. And he's been moving forward. He's now put 6 positions between himself and Scott Dixon, and continuing to take those points away from him in the championship.
Here we get to pit stops as Jack Harvey comes to pit lane.
Here we go. You got it on the mark. Make sure. 3.
Jack Harvey pulling in, started out on sticker tires. They use the alternate sticker reds. As we see a change of position there. Scott Dixon on the move. Harvey in and out with Firestone tires and Speedway fuel.
That was Scott Dixon with a big lock up there, Lee.
Yeah, it was on Marco Andretti, and that was an important one. That gets him inside the top 10 into 9th. So he's managing that damage okay, right?
Yeah, and that one position on track was 3 points. The gap went from 29 points to 32, so every point's going to count. Look at Hinch now attacking Felix Rosenquist. Felix hangs tight, pushes him wide.
So many corners like that here at Indy where you can get side by side, but that inside driver has the ability to basically drive you off the road at the exit. Hinchcliffe just backing out in time before he's on the grass. Now we see the big dogs coming to pit lane. This will be a battle.
Rossi, O'Ward and Newgarden all in shot. You've got Andretti Autosport, Arrow McLaren SP and Team Penske. Joseph credited his team with their work on this car yesterday. He said, my car was a rocket ship, my crew were incredible.
So hard to beat Team Penske, Paul, on pit lane. Awards guys do a wing change. A little late on the launch. Let's see how they do against the fastest team. There's Rossi in the lower side of the screen. Newgarden, the #1 team.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's almost an accident for Rossi. Cars coming in, cars going out, but it all stayed status quo right there.
That was Alex Palou pitting. Here comes Scott Dixon. Let's see if they can do anything to that damaged floor. I don't think they have time. I don't think they can afford to worry about it. Track position, too important.
7-second pit stop, you really have no opportunity to do anything. You'd lose a bunch of positions. So he sticks with what he has, damaged floor.
Tight race there between Rinus VeeKay and the 21 on the right in the Sonax Chevrolet, and Marcus Ericsson for Chip Ganassi Racing in the Husky Chocolates Honda. So just over third race distance now. And you've heard us talk about championship lead. We'll get back to that in a moment because here's the race leader.
And Will Power is in. They started on new red tires, going to put a new set of black, the primary tires on. Will, his fuel numbers were perfect on that run, so setting a nice pace out front.
Man, that was a clean stop. 7-1. He went a lap further than everybody except Colton Herta, who comes in with him.
And Will Power easily wins the race on pit road. There he goes by. Colton Herta coming in, running in second. Stays out a lap longer than Rossi. One-way change. Primary Firestone Speedway fuel. Felix Rosenquist also getting set to come in just a moment. Rosenquist just coming in. Let's watch this blend on the track.
Rossi's going to get him here on hot tires.
I don't know.
Well, he's got hot tires now, so he's just got to set this up and get him on the back straightaway. You got to line this up here and then get the shot out of this fast chicane.
There's more than this fight on track that we're watching. This is the fight to be top dog at Andretti Autosport, because at the moment Colton Herta, in only his second year, is high in the championship. He's third, and that's unusual for Alexander Rossi. He's usually the title contender, wheel to wheel, and Rossi gets the youngster.
Beautiful stuff, just like yesterday. Young guns, aggressive, but giving room, especially to their teammates. They are so hard to hold on if you're Colton Herta on cold tires. Now Hinchcliffe all over Scott Dixon.
Yeah, he's got by his teammate now. There's Felix Rosenquist, lost, actually got ahead of his teammate on the pit stops. They make contact, both of them off. I think he's got a bent suspension.
I think the steering rod might have broken on Rosenquist's car.
I think so too.
Maybe not. Rosenquist continues.
Charlie Kimball in the Tresiba Chevrolet, Felix Rosenquist, they were arguing over the same piece of real estate. It did not work out. Ericsson's trying to work there on Takuma Sato up into turn 12. And Sato gets Rosenquist, so maybe he is ailing. That's his teammate.
A lot of action here. Guys running side by side in all of this. The points now is down to 28, so it keeps moving with every position.
Well, and importantly for Scott Dixon, he loses the protection of his teammate as Rosenquist falls all the way back to 18th. And here's Sato and Ericsson going at it.
Heavy braking, bottoming for Sato at the end of the brake zone.
It's a little further back in 15th and 16th place. Take you back to the Rosenquist Charlie Kimball scenario. At the end of the Holman Straight into turn 7, it's a common overtaking point. It's a key overtaking point.
Big contact. Look at this. Watch Charlie's car jump up in the air right here. So both of them go off. Scott Dixon just gets by the both of them right there. More contact with these guys. Sebastian Bourdais, Connor Daly, all kinds of action going on.
If there's a gap here at Indy, Lee, you have to take a track position. So hard to earn.
Oh, Ericsson's gone off. Same spot that his teammate Felix Rosenquist and his countryman tangled with Charlie Kimball. That is also a common spot to run through on the grass and have to rejoin.
Decided to try to not slow down and get back on track and just gas it up and take the shortest route over to the chicane, but lost a couple positions.
Castro Neves, the Mission Foods on board. First time in 20 plus years not driving an IndyCar for Roger Penske and Team Penske. It's a strange sight, it feels weird to say, but Elio's just thrilled to be driving an IndyCar. He's won the last 3 races in succession in his Acura DPI prototype in the IMSA WeatherTech Series. He's going for a championship there with Ricky Taylor. This here, he wants to keep his IndyCar career and dream alive. Who knows if we'll see him again next year, but he's doing everything to prove that he can still do it in his mid-40s. What a weekend it has been here at the Brickyard. Doubleheader, Harvest Grand Prix weekend, presented by Firestone. Last time the Harvest Auto Racing Classic happened, 1916. It was a 3-race format, a 20-miler, a 50-miler, and a 100-mile race, won by the legend Johnny Aitken, who won all 3. And here we are in October, in autumn of 2020. Strange years, strange times, but you know what? This has worked out really, really well. It has been a fun weekend. It's been terrific to have IndyCar fans back at the track. And Ryan Hunter-Reay, Indy 500 winner, series champion, is back on pit road, Kevin Lee.
And if they were trying a Hail Mary, they did want to try a 3-stop strategy, even though you lose about 42 seconds on pit lane. That's why most thought that there's no way it can happen. Their theory was, though, and especially when they lost 5 spots at the start of the race, I think they changed the plan as he comes in here and gets another set of Firestone red sidewall tires, is we just need to run about a half a second per lap. Ray Gosselin's engineer said you gotta stick with it, and maybe by the end of the race we can make up some ground. Big turns of front wing, and Hunter-Reay is back out.
You gotta hope, Townsend, that there's a yellow to make that work, but the way these guys are racing each other, all the wheel banging going on, a yellow could happen at any time.
Certainly possible, but for Ryan Hunter-Reay, he'll drop all the way back to 23rd, and now everybody needs one more stop, including Hunter-Reay. So it's going to take a lot of luck for something to work out today for the DHL car.
That fight between Marcus Ericsson and Takuma Sato, even though it's over 15th place, has been savage. Up front to the tune of 4.5 seconds. Will Power is looking fantastic. It's time for a Honda through the field. Here's Dylan Welsh.
Lee, it's been a really smooth day so far after a bit of an eventful day yesterday for Will Power. Mentioned yesterday that feels like these guys have been fast everywhere, just have had a couple mistakes and a lot of bad luck that's kept them out of victory lane more than just once. On pace today to get victory number 2 this year if they continue to execute like they have thus far, Kevin.
After everything going wrong that could go wrong to start the season for Alexander Rossi, he's in position for his 4th straight podium after getting only 1 in the first 9 races. He feels like they've started to figure out the aero screen and they're building towards next year. Right behind him is his teammate Colton Herta, running in 3rd, running up front in both of these races. Herta struggled on the reds yesterday, the softer compound. He said, though, I still think it's a red tire race. He's on the primaries, by the way, right now, the black sidewalls. We just have to tune the car to make it work. Dylan?
Pato O'Ward runs in the 4th spot. His strategist, Taylor Kyle, mentioned how good of a racer he's become this year. Said the only time they finished worse than they've qualified on a road course was once, and that was when they started on the pole at Road America. These guys are going to have a set of sticker reds, brand new reds left to bolt on here for the last 25 laps or so. Keep an eye on them as we come down to the end, Kevin.
Even though Joseph Newgarden cut 32 points out of Dixon's championship lead yesterday with a win and was within 40, he said nothing changes. We still need to be flawless, perfect in the final 2 races, and still have Dixon have some issues. He could still win out, and it doesn't matter what we do. Even if he finishes 2nd or 3rd, we're not going to be able to do a whole lot. So it's still maximum attack, and after starting back in 9th, it's coming to him. Joseph Newgarden moving up to 5th now, Dylan.
Jack Harvey runs in the 6th spot. You see him on the screen. Been a really, really nice day for them as you see the AutoNation on board. Really nice weekend. 8th yesterday, running 6th right now. Just building continuously on their strong runs, running week in and week out this year. Full-time effort. That momentum builds and carries over week in and week out. You see it in the results on the racetrack. Behind him is Graham Rahal, who mentioned felt like yesterday they had good pace, had an early spin that relegated them to the back, that forced them to play a little bit of catch-up all afternoon long. They've advanced forward a couple of spots so far today. Graham's pretty happy with the race car, just quietly running inside the top 10, Kevin.
Alex Palou has shown a lot of pace at times this season, but he's frustrated that they haven't had more results and bad luck at times. And he says, I got to perform because I don't have a contract for next year. I'm trying to get that done. He is one of those that didn't have any new sets of red Firestones for this race. As Dixon is going to get inside him for position, but he thought it was more important just to get the track position to start the race. Now Scott Dixon has moved past him, so those are critical championship points for Dixon, who still seems very calm, even though that championship lead has gone from 117 to 40 here just in the last little while. He said it's kind of been a flip-flop. Yesterday, the primaries didn't work well yesterday. Today it was the reds.
Timing and scoring there on your left-hand side. Jack Harvey not the leader right now, so we'll work on getting that fixed as Marcus Ericsson continues to work on the backside of Takuma Sato. but most importantly, Dixon did for real just pass Alex Palou, and that gets him ever closer to a 6th championship.
If this is not decided today, here at Indianapolis, the championship that is, and goes to the end of the month at St. Petersburg in Florida, it will be the 15th consecutive year that the NTT IndyCar Series is decided at the final event. NBC's coverage of IndyCar is brought to you by Progressive. Stay on track with great rates at progressive.com. United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, and sponsor of Graham Rahal. Gainbridge, protect and grow your savings with confidence. Learn more at gainbridge.life. And by Firestone, drive the tire that drives IndyCar legends. And look at this magnificent world-class venue that is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now proudly owned by the captain, Roger Penske. First came here in the 1950s with his dad, and now he owns the place and is the boss of the NTT IndyCar Series. And it has been tremendous having him steer the ship. Now, a major announcement from Penske Entertainment Corp. Several significant steps this morning to its ongoing Race for Equality and Change initiative, and that includes a major expansion of its relationship with NHG Youth Motorsports Incorporated, and they introduce minority students to motorsports. It's a wonderful initiative. Coach Rod Reed has done a terrific job. Jimmy McMillan will head up this for Penske Corporation, Penske Entertainment Corp, I should say, and really good stuff, and a very, very valuable and needed initiative. So great stuff from Penske Entertainment. Speaking of Penske, there's the captain and some important information. Here's one of his championship and Indianapolis 500 winning drivers, Will Power. Took him a long time this year to get his first win of 2020. It's been a bit of a scrappy season for Will. However, he's rocketed up into the top 5 in points, and he's trying to get his second victory of the season. He won last time out at the last doubleheader at Mid-Ohio, and boys, that did an enormous amount for his confidence, for his morale, and right here today, there's no stopping him.
As we watch Alexander Rossi trying to chase down Will Power under 5 seconds back, he was just asked, plan A or B for the last stint. Alex said, I have no idea, and I think I know what they're talking about, because we had a long conversation about the last stint, better on the primary black sidewall Firestones or scuffed reds, and he said, I'm going to have to just figure it out through I go. I don't know at this point what's going to be better. There's big concern about the scuffed used reds that have 2, 3, 4 laps on them being able to last a full 25-lap stint, so he's got another 10 laps to figure it out before that last stop.
Yesterday, the scuffed reds seemed to fall off quite bad at the end of the run. So Townsend, at this stage of the weekend, with all the running that's been here with IndyCar and sports cars, I think sticker blacks might be the way to go and finish the race off.
I don't know. They were falling apart for a bunch of drivers. Scott Dixon, Colton Herta really struggled, along with Ryan Hunter-Reay. As you see, the 2012 IndyCar champion, he's also running low in soft. As you see the car bottoming on the straightaway, lots of sparks and smoke, and this battle that's been going on with Ericsson and Takuma Sato, side to side, NHL flavor all over the race today. Those axle to axle, wheel to wheel hip checks can cause damage sometimes, but in this case, both get away.
In one of those moments, if a car gets out in the grass, spins and stalls, there's the yellow that this guy right here, Ryan Hunter-Reay, needs to make this 3-stop strategy work for him.
That move for Ericsson got him up into 15th. Kind of scratching my head a little bit at what happened to Santino Ferrucci. He was running up front early on in this race, and right now he's back outside the top 10 and 11th because Simon Pagenaud has jumped up 9 positions from his starting spot. Pagenaud's the biggest mover, the third man in Team Penske, guy who swept the month of May here last year at this road course and at the Indianapolis 500. He is ahead of the Sealmaster Honda pilot here.
You're saving more fuel than you need to. You can use it if you want. Although if you're banking it for the end, you know, you could use some more here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just driving, dude. I'm just in a rhythm.
Translation there, Paul, is I'm going as fast as I can fuel's not the issue. I think Jimmy Vasser's only point, who you heard on the radio, who's the team owner for Santino Ferrucci, also calls the strategy, suggesting that, yes, if you do save a little bit of fuel, Paul, it just means that the fill time will be shorter for the last pit stop, but that's only a couple tenths of a second. I think the inference from Jimmy Vasser is put your head down, go as fast as you can. Santino's saying, dude, I already am.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make that last stop as short as possible. If you can get in the rhythm, go fast, and make fuel like Will Power is always able to do, and this guy right here, Simon Pagenaud, who's moved up from the back of the field all the way up into 10th. If you can do the lap time and make the fuel, that's best case scenario.
So just looking at the first stint of this race, Will Power pitted on lap 27, so did Herta, so did Rossi. You also have to include the 2 pace laps to start the race. That means I think those guys might be able to stretch 28 laps to the end. Kevin Lee, my question is, do you think we'll see somebody start to gamble here in pit, say around lap 48, and just kind of cover?
I think you got to take that risk if you're outside of the top 10. I don't think any of the front runners will do that, and they will know that they can't make it if it stays green, but especially if you're beyond 15th, 16th, they're going to get no result at all. If you come in and just one short 2 or 3 lap yellow, you'll be able to have the fuel to make it to the end, and you'll cycle up to the front as everyone else makes their final stop. So watch for some to come in early. Leaders, though, I still think you're going to be lap 50.
I think if you're up front, as Will Power is right now, you're going to start to think about getting yourself out of lap traffic. Power sitting behind Sage Karam, who's fighting to stay on the lead lap, hoping for that yellow. Sage Karam's last lap at 1:13.2 to Power's 1:12.6. So we've seen this before where the leader has a really hard time lapping even 23rd place just because it's hard to get close with the turbulent air. So how much push to pass does Will Power start to use to get by Karam versus just opting to hang on and pit?
It was an overwhelming statement yesterday from the drivers, Paul, that to Townsend's point, just how difficult it was to pass, even for someone like Felix Rosenqvist, who was right in the mix in the top 5 and certainly in the top 10. He said, I've burnt so much push to pass. Here we go, just like Will Power's doing now, to clear those drivers not on the lead lap or towards the back of the pack. By the way, each car is equipped and each driver gets 200 seconds of push to pass. They can deploy it in maximum hits of 20 seconds at a time. And everyone's been pretty conservative today, except for Pagenaud, Paul.
The guy who's making a recovery now is Scott Dixon. He's moved up now from 12th up into 8th, and the gap now to Newgarden is about 5.5 to 6 seconds. So he has figured out his handling woes with this broken floor, and now he's almost up to the back of Simon Pagenaud right here. So he's recovering.
This is the most important gap, Paul, right there. 34 points now, the advantage in the championship. Dixon to Newgarden. It had fallen down to, I think, 27, 28 points earlier. So by getting those valuable positions, Dixon is extending now his championship lead, where it had been slipping race after race after race.
It got down to 29 throughout the course of this race. By the way, if you're new to IndyCar viewing, talking about points, if you win the race and you get the pole position, you get all the bonus points, the maximum you can score is 54. So if Dixon were to have a gap of 55 today by the end of this race, he would be champion. But it's looking unlikely. This thing will go to St. Petersburg, Florida, to be decided between Joseph Newgarden and Scott Dixon. This is the U.S. Air Force entry for Ed Carpenter Racing of local driver Connor Daly. Had a tough go of it yesterday. Today he's done good work, made up 9 positions since his start, and he runs 14th.
So yesterday he just got muscled around a lot, never really made much moves from where he started, but today moving forward, he's on reds, car's handling well, moving through the field.
And Daly's teammate, Rinus VeeKay, had an amazing day yesterday. 20 years old, a rookie, scored his first pole position and first podium finish, coming home 3rd. He sits back there, number 21, the sister car at Ed Carpenter Racing. Probably much further down than he would have expected today, 49 seconds back at the lead. But let's take a look at some of these highlights yesterday for VeeKay. He was awesome from the drop of the green flag, Paul.
Yeah, I talked to Ari Leyendyk Sr., who's his mentor. He said, this kid is only just getting started. He's ramping it up every single weekend, getting better and better and better. And these moves are just so aggressive that he makes.
Decisive, aggressive, That's his first career podium on the same weekend as his first career pole. It was also the first road course pole position for Ed Carpenter Racing. So terrific work. I spoke to Matt Barnes, his race engineer, earlier today. I said, are you going to tell the kid to be a little more conservative on the push to pass? He used a quarter of it up within the first 4 laps yesterday. And he said, yeah, all part of the learning experience. But he did so well.
Gap is closing now. Rossi has closed it down to just under 3 seconds, so.
Sunday, Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles fly to Levi's Stadium to take on George Kittle and the San Francisco 49ers. Eagles 49ers Football Night in America kicks off at 7 Eastern, only on NBC. Our resident 49ers fan, Townsend Bell, what do you say about that? No Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle, how you feeling?
Oh, the red and gold, they'll figure out a way. They've been playing well despite all the injuries.
So tomorrow, big NASCAR, big football day. There it is, and it all starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to it. What a weekend it has been with this double header in the NTT IndyCar Series. So 26 laps to go, and Simon Pagenaud, who pitted earliest of the top 10 runners, he is in the DXC Technology Chevrolet. He's done really well from his lower than usual starting position. We'll see how the day shakes out for the Frenchman.
And this is one of those, like Townsend and I were talking about, coming in a lap early. It's going to be a pretty hard save to get there the rest of the way for Simon Pagenaud. He does have that set of sticker reds left over to go with his last stint as well. A yellow would greatly help him, or some big fuel save, Dylan.
And cars continue to come down pit road. There's Connor Daly. Talked about him a little bit ago, and tires go on his race car, the U.S. Air Force car, and he's down and away.
Gotta think that this is gonna bring Newgarden in right now. There he comes. Gonna cover his bases. So he's safe now if a yellow comes out. Will Power must be thinking about coming this lap as well. And just to explain this further, if a yellow flag were to come out right now, the pits would close. So the leaders would not be able to get to pit lane for a few laps, and that would allow the cars that have pitted, like Newgarden here, to go right to the front.
You might see a sticker red laying out there on pit lane if you get a close enough look, but the other 3 are scuffs. You're allowed to replace a damaged tire, so that's why there's 1 sticker out there, but 75% of this is a used set of reds for the final stint for Joseph Newgarden, trying to climb up closer in that championship.
Power still on track. He's got to be the next guy to come. He can't really afford to stay out there any long. Power, we heard, is just now on the pit lane. There he is.
So risk management.
Can I get a tear off?
Could I get a tear off is the call. You'll see there on the aero screen, see those little red tabs to Will's left there of his helmet. The team person will come there, grab it, rip it off, and give him a clear view. Dylan Welsh is there.
And same story here with Will Power, a fresh left rear after some contact earlier in the weekend. Scuff reds all the way around. Besides that new left rear, Will Power, efficient stop. He's down and away, Kev.
Man, that was a good stop, Kevin. 6.9, super clean.
All the way at the front of pit road, you're going to see Colton Herta right there in that green and white car dive in. He's going to have the easy out. Trying to stay in the top 3. Rossi goes by. I believe they went to primaries for their final stop. Dixon is set up. He'll be coming in just a moment. Good stop for Colton Herta.
Rossi easily beats him out, his teammate out. Here is championship points leader. The PNC Bank 9 team go to work, led by Blair Julian, and get Dixon out ahead of Alex Palou.
Used reds with 1 sticker on the outside left rear. So I wonder if they had a puncture or an issue with one of their tires, Townsend, because one of those rear tires is brand new.
Well, if you wanted a new tire for the final stint, you could only choose one. It would be the left rear. That's where it takes all of the load and all of that Honda horsepower laying down in this battle with Newgarden now. And looking fierce with Pato O'Ward.
Turn 7, wheel to wheel. O'Ward gives him some room, or does he? No, he doesn't. He cross tracks and on the inside, but Newgarden holds tough.
Newgarden, I'm sure, looking in his mirror saying, please don't hit me. I can't afford anything to go wrong in this championship battle. I need to close on Dixon.
What a year it has been for the McLaren Racing organization with with Carlos Sainz Jr., Lando Norris doing great, both getting podiums in F1, and this youngster in the Arrow McLaren SP team. Look at that move from Joseph Newgarden. That was similar to what Colton Herta did yesterday.
These guys have been super aggressive lately with the fake, the head move, like you go to the left, go to the right, the under over. These guys, and here comes Rosenqvist into the pits to do his last stop.
So maybe he can take a little bit less fuel because he stayed out an extra lap, but it's not that much of a difference. So Rosenqvist comes in. He's not effectively in the top of this race. He just stayed out a little bit longer and cycled up to the front, but he's out there to help out his teammate any way he can.
So the lead is 3.3 seconds to Will Power over Alexander Rossi. Let's keep that in mind and let's watch it carefully. The championship points lead scenario is 30, exactly 30 between Dixon and Joseph Newgarden. That forces it to be finalized on the streets of St. Petersburg, October 25, and you'll see it here on NBC. This is James Hinchcliffe working on Felix Rosenqvist, the NTT data on board.
Cold tires for these guys. Look at that car snap sideways on Dalton Kellett. James Hinchcliffe gets a run. Nice clean pass down the inside, but that was sketchy.
Oh boy, here comes
Santino.
Ferrucci. Dalton Kellett a lap down. Doing the right thing, letting the quicker cars go through that are battling on the lead lap. So Ferrucci and Hinchcliffe battling. That's the battle for 15th position.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, Elio Castro-Neves, both back on pit road for the final time with 22 laps to go.
And this is where you know the three-stop strategy just simply not going to work out today for Ryan Hunter-Reay. They went with a gamble. Haven't really had the handle on this 28 car all day. You see Castro-Neves' stop on the top side of the frame. He goes blacks, Hunter-Reay with the reds, but here comes the field.
A lot of rubber on the front wing of Hunter-Reay's car from that contact with Scott Dixon that damaged his floor. Power now stretching away a little bit now in the middle of this, in the beginning of this run. 4.5 seconds right now. Big gap back to Herta, 13 seconds. So Rossi's kind of on his own here. He's got to chase down that gap.
Are you surprised at all that Rossi opted for the blacks, Paul?
I am, but sticker blacks I think might pay off at the end of this deal.
20 laps to go is a long time, so we'll see how it plays out for Will Power. Do the Reds start to fall apart there at the end and the performance fall apart and fall into the clutches of Rossi?
Well, Rossi's taken a good chunk out of it. Remember, I said it was just shy of 3.5 seconds a lap ago. It's now 2.7.
Here's why. Alexander Rossi's teammate, Marco Andretti, backing up Will Power a little bit.
Coming up next here on NBC, it is the final jewel of the 2020 Triple Crown. Of course, the Preakness Stakes. It's coming up from Pimlico next here on NBC. Guys, not based on the odds, just the name. Like so many people choose the potential winner. Do you like Authentic, the favorite? Heart Collector, Swiss Skydiver, 1,000 Words. Which one? Paul, you first up.
I like Swiss Skydiver.
Give me Pneumatic. That sounds potent and powerful.
I'll take 1,000 Words. We speak for a living. We'll see how it goes. More than likely it'll be Authentic, but who knows? We will see. Welcome back. The Firestone Harvest Grand Prix of Indianapolis continues. Will Power in command. However, his advantage has come down.
Well, it's Rossi's teammate, Marco Andretti, was giving Will Power fits during the commercial break. He was racing him really hard, went in side by side at the end of the back straightaway. Power kind of shoved him off the track, and that helped Rossi close the gap now.
1.5 seconds. The progressive lap leader showed us that Will has led all 57, and this was a massive moment at Mid-Ohio for him to win and just boost his confidence on this 2020 season. He was frustrated. He's been a little bit not Will Power this year. That's what it's more like, and we saw him get the pole position, the NTT P1 award. 61 career poles to this guy. He's only 6 away, tying the legend Mario Andretti for the most pole positions all time. He's en route to racking up another win. However, if you keep watching the graphic in the top left, Alexander Rossi of Andretti Autosport keeps shaving that advantage down, Dylan.
And Lee, it's going to be interesting because yesterday when Power had the scuff reds on, it was about lap 17 on the run before he started to say the tires are going away. So we're about 10 laps or so away from being 17 laps into this stint. So as that gap continues to shrink, it may be because Power on those scuff reds is in fact losing the tires. So we'll see how much more it decreases as this run goes on.
Well, right now, Townsend, it looks like the blacks are just as quick as the reds, and I think that they would hold on a little bit longer than a used set of reds that Will Power has.
Think about this, Paul. Push to pass going to be critical down the stretch here. Power and Rossi just about level, so Rossi's done a good job to hang on to 75 seconds, but he's probably going to need every bit of that to get by. But it sure seems like the gap continues to close. Now 1.4 seconds, Rossi to Power.
You see all those big balls of rubber on the front straightaway. That's all the rubber coming off of the tires. And Will Power right there, another big balls of rubber in the corners there. His tires are really getting a workout here.
Alexander Rossi, his season started with a little mechanical hiccup, an electrical hiccup at Texas Motor Speedway. He was one of 3 drivers that happened to right as they were leaving pit lane on the outlaps. And then there's been various incidents that have affected him this year. At one stage, he was close to being 20th in the championship, which is highly unusual for Rossi. And he slowly but surely clawed his way back. And he sits coming into this race 11th in the championship. He could be a little bit better. He could be inside the top 10 at the end of today's race if he keeps going the way he is with 16 laps to go.
He's desperate for a win this year, but we go on board with Castroneves racing with Sebastian Bourdais, and Sebastian Bourdais misses the brake zone by a long way and has to go straight.
And you know why, Paul? Because Bourdais had to go offline on the straightaway, and you just mentioned how the marbles have grown and grown each lap. When you run all green like this, no yellow flag periods, you can't sweep. Just look at it down the front straightaway as Scott Dixon makes a move on Charlie Kimball. In fact, he hit one of those huge clumps with his under tray, Scott Dixon did. So here's the thing that Will Power probably is thinking about is if Rossi gets close enough to make a move, where can Power defend and force Rossi to drive onto those marbles so that he's challenged in the brake zone like Sebastian Bourdais was.
And like Will Power was at Mid-Ohio, desperate for a good result, desperate for a win. It's been a down year for Rossi, and he's yesterday with second place. He was furious with second place, so he wants a win badly.
Rossi now within a second.
This is going to get good. It's going to get really good over the closing 15 laps because Rossi has been very methodical in eating into that advantage that Will Power has. Quick break, last break. We'll take you to the checkered flag on the other side. Who's going to win this? Sunday, October 25th, a champion will be crowned. It doesn't look like it's going to happen today. It's going to happen at the final race of the NTT IndyCar Series at St. Petersburg, Florida. And you'll see it right here on NBC. Aerial coverage today has been fantastic with thanks to Geico. Look at this amazing complex, this amazing venue.
So this is going to be interesting here. You've got Will Power, Alexander Rossi, and Colton Herta running 1, 2, 3, separated by less than 2 seconds. Will Power's been hanging on to the balance a little bit, Paul, but they're about to catch Helio Castroneves. Helio is trying out for a new team this weekend, looking to extend his IndyCar career. He's about to get lapped by his former teammate. How hard will Castroneves fight off Will Power?
Colton Herta has been absolutely flying the last 5 laps. He's bridged the gap of about 4 seconds, and he has a run right now on his teammate on the push to pass. He's got more push to pass. The block is there in the marbles. Let's see what's going to happen. He goes for deep inside.
Gotcha. Colton Herta gets second from his teammate.
He's the strongest car on track right now. Will Power will be in trouble if he gets to him.
And look at how dirty Alexander Rossi's tires are. Both drivers had to go well onto the dirty side of the track. And look at Rossi just hanging on, trying to get those Firestones cleaned back up and attack again. Watch this move from Colton Herta.
All in the dirty part of the track here. You see the car smoking. Just nice. Look at the brakes glow. Clean pass, no lockups. pushes his teammate wide, takes the position. He is the fastest car on track. He was running about 0.6 of a second quicker than Will Power for the last 5 or 6 laps.
And he is out after Power, 1.5 seconds. So let's monitor that, because Herta is the man on the move. And he's not racing for the championship, nor is this man here, Alexander Rossi, and nor is Will Power. So they can just go for it. Just all out racing over these closing 11 laps. Moment there for Rossi.
Those black tires are gone. I am wrong. The blacks are done.
I don't know if they're done, Paul, or just dirty. We'll see. 10 laps to go is a long distance for both Power and Herta to hang on to the softer red tire. But Paul, I'm going to go back to my earlier question. You didn't answer me. Will Castro Neves give Will Power a hard time and hold him up?
Well, Castro Neves is never an easy guy to pass, and I'm sure he wants to finish on the lead lap and not get lapped by his ex-teammate. You got 2 guys here, Castro Neves and Sebastian Bourdais, that are trying to get back into the series. Sebastian has a ride for next year. They do not want to finish a lap down.
Well, both these guys are multi-time IndyCar race winners. Bourdais a champion. No way that they want to get lapped in Indianapolis for any reason.
Guys, it's down to 1 second between Power and Herta. There's Ron Rossi, who calls the shots for Will Power on the Team Penske pit box.
This turbulence now, Will Power has had it all his own way. He's been in clean air. He's just been able to run his own pace. But Townsend, now he's got turbulent air, which works the tires even harder. And look at the gap is closing now down to 0.8 of a second.
Here comes Herta in the Capstone Turbine Honda for Andretti Autosport. Andretti Harding Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner IV is on the pit box, cheering his good friend and driver on, because he is putting pressure on Will Power. Nobody's been this close to Power all race long.
I think Colton Herta's got to be careful. Don't use up your tires too much. Remember, yesterday in the race, Herta was really hanging on all over the pace, sliding as the rears were giving up. And Paul, I think Alexander Rossi has those tires cleaned up from the marbles. He's starting to close back up to Herta. We're in for a treat coming down the stretch.
Herta's using the push to pass. He just used it again. Now the advantage is to Will Power at 82 seconds. Herta down to 75.
We're hoping for a close finish in the Preakness coming up. We're hoping for a close finish here at Indianapolis.
It's close now. If he gets a good exit here, Kevin, onto the front straightaway, I think he's got a good shot at it.
And as Townsend said yesterday at the end of the tire run for the red alternates, they went away. But Colton told me today, I think we figured out a tune for that. The red is still the tire of choice. He's not done. And we remember that stat. He's the only driver. There have been 6 that have never finished anywhere else on the podium other than winning. Well, Colton's the only one that's won more than once. He'd be quite happy to make it 4 with nothing else if he could get it done today and get Power at the end.
Yeah, no seconds, no thirds for this 20-year-old Californian. He just goes straight to the top of the podium every time. His consistency this year has been remarkable. Second year in IndyCar, he owns the title proudly of being the youngest to ever win in IndyCar history. He's the youngest ever pole sitter and pole winner in IndyCar history. And the next on his list is a championship and an Indianapolis 500. Both of those have been won by the guy he is chasing.
Will Power cannot seem to close the gap on these cars that are just ahead of him. Castro Neves, he hasn't really been able to close that gap up, Townsend.
Well, I think the thought of Helio Castro Neves being lapped at his house here in Indianapolis, a place he's won 3 times the Indy 500, has caused Castro Neves to dig deep and step it up. Castro Neves has picked up the pace as they're starting to slide around on those reds even more.
Big loose entry from Will Power into the last corner. That's 130-mile-an-hour turn.
They're very close with how much they've got left in the bank for push to pass. It gives you about an additional 50 horsepower or so. And Colton Herta is now close to half a second behind Will Power. 1 Chevrolet, it leads. 1 Honda, it is second. Big news today. Both engine manufacturers have committed long-term to IndyCar for the new rules package, the new power unit package coming in 2023. Hybrid power from both Honda and Chevrolet in a 2.4-litre turbocharged car that will give some 900-plus horsepower. Great news in the hybrid era coming up in the NTT IndyCar Series. That's a couple of years from now, but a great commitment from the 2 engine manufacturers that supply the power in IndyCar. Chevrolet and Honda, great news.
Lots of marbles on track now, pulling off a pass now. At this time of the race is super difficult and sketchy, Townsend, and you know that Will Power is going to make him work and go to the inside and push him to the dirty part of the track. Look at how dirty the front straightaway is.
Power has to be quietly pleading.
He's gonna help me here.
There you go, pleading to Castroneves. You gotta help me. Come on, bud. We were buds for years. Throw me a bone here. Let me get by. Colton Herta all over the back of Power now.
Right there now.
Send a message to Helio Castroneves and remind him that he still drives for Team Penske in sports cars.
He's got a lot more cars to worry about than Castroneves. There's a whole line of cars up
On
in
the
front
button
now.
behind you.
There you go. So that's Castroneves lifting and letting Colton Herta through. Very cool from Helio. Let the battle continue at the front.
By the way, that turn 7 that they just went through at the end of the Holman Straight is where this guy here in the Capstone Turbine Honda pulled off one of the best passes you've seen in a while. Very similar to what Joseph Newgarden did in this race. It was fast, it was aggressive, it was decisive. Now it was awesome. We'll see if he can do it today to Power.
This is going to be tricky here. Dalton Kellett now coming onto the front straightaway. He won't be as quick as these guys. He peels off. Very good move by the rookie.
By on the front straight.
Now, who's next up the road? It's Sebastian Bourdais, Connor Daly, Max Chilton. None of those guys employed by Roger Penske.
They will fight harder to stay on the lead lap. That's for sure.
You bet, because if a yellow were to come out and a quick restart, you'd still have a chance to make up valuable positions. Even if you run towards the bottom right now, you stack back up behind the pace car, so there's incentive to hang in there as Power runs wide.
Yeah, way wide. Took a real wide exit. Right there, and that's as close as he's ever been. Takes a little peek on the inside. The pressure is on for Will Power.
Isn't it heartwarming to see those different camera shots, to see the fans in the stands here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? When we were here on 4th of July weekend, nobody. When we were here for the 104th running of the Indy 500, no crowd. Good to have at least some. A cap of 10,000 IndyCar fans here cheering everybody on. And the captain, Roger Penske, and Doug Bowles, the president of the Speedway, both greeted the fans earlier this week. Riding with Arrow McLaren SP driver Pato O'Ward. He's 5th. He's trying to put pressure on Joseph Newgarden, maybe take some points away from Newgarden for Scott Dixon. Meanwhile, Dixon is getting closer to Graham Rahal a little further back. He's in 8th.
Oh! Connor Daly trying to get out of the way, and he did just the opposite. Colton Herta was confused. Connor trying to do the right thing and get out of the way, and Colton Herta almost into the back of that Air Force car.
This could have been ugly, really ugly.
Stay in your lane is what they normally say. So he gets out of the way and says, okay, I'm gonna let him go out. Oh, where are you going? That's crazy stuff.
All right, let's reset. Everybody's taking a breath. Here we go again.
My heart's in my mouth.
3.5 laps to go of the 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course.
I think Colton might have a real good shot here as they come to the front straightaway.
He's close now. He's real close now. He's just got to put his head down and really push hard.
And now, Paul, Colton has the advantage on push to pass. Power, 34 seconds. Herta, 40 seconds.
Got to use it now.
And look at Power on the button on the straightaway.
He's not on the button on the front straight. We're going to conserve some here.
Sounds like they're setting it up for the last lap. He's conserving.
No pressure into 1.
To use it all in the last 2 laps, Townsend.
See that giant piece of clumped up rubber bouncing down the straightaway, just clocked Colton Herta's aero screen. And even though it's rubber, Paul, you know those things weigh several ounces.
Yeah, it's very, very hard hit when you get hit in the windshield with all those balls of rubber. The aero screen really protects the drivers in that situation.
2 guys with 2 very different backgrounds, nationalities. They drive for different teams. One thing they love dearly that they have in common, other than being a race car driver, they are both drummers, and they do it as often as they can. And Will, he does it more on a casual basis, but for Colton, he actually performs. He's in a band. It's called the Zibs, and he does that as often as they can. COVID, of course, Kevin, kind of shut them down a little bit as far as their public performances, but the band is back together, rehearsing and playing, and they love it dearly.
We're planning the World Tour in 2021. You and I will be there both front and center. This is how race cars are wired, or drivers are wired a little differently. That near miss with Connor Daly, I was listening only to Herta's radio. He said nothing, but he was just told no fuel concerns. You can go on full attack.
And he all of a sudden has more seconds left for push to pass than Will Power does. It's only 2 seconds, but that makes a lot. Kellett goes off. That's not for position.
I know, but it was for championship points if Newgarden got into the back of Dalton Kellett as O'Ward draws closer and closer, and you know Newgarden's going to defend. Sebastian Bourdais gets by Max Chilton.
Battle for 4th and 5th, Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, but this right here is the battle for the lead as we're coming to 1 to go here.
So last time on the front straightaway, Colton Herta used a precious 2 or 3 seconds, and now Colton Herta's really on the button. Power has the advantage. 24 seconds left for Power. Colton Herta just 18 seconds. Colton wants to get by.
Turn 12. They're coming up. The white flag to display one more lap will come out, this time by, and there's traffic up ahead. Where is Colton Herta going to make his move? Can he get close enough? Is it turn 1? Is it turn 7? There's the white flag. 1 to go. Less than 2.5 miles.
He's not close enough right now to really bridge that gap and get a shot at the brakes. So he's got to make a good turn 1, 2, 3, 4 and get his last shot will be down the back straightaway.
A lot of this might be decided by what the lap car of Max Chilton decides to do as Power gets close on this lap.
These two guys won at Mid-Ohio. Will Power race 1 of that doubleheader win. Colton Herta race 2 of that doubleheader weekend.
Behind. 8 back, no pressure.
This is the big shot, but he's not close enough. This is his opportunity. He's not close enough. He might be able to do it into 12 if this traffic up ahead hampers Will Power, but I think the Penske driver may just have enough. We'll see. It's going to be a desperate move from Colton Herta to do it. He's only half a second behind Power, but that is enough at the moment.
2 more corners to go for Will Power. He's hung on this whole stint.
This has been one of Power's best tracks in his IndyCar career. The Brickyard's road course. Will Power, he won the pole position. He's going to win the race. Power wins at Indianapolis.
Bring it on, bud. Nice job, nice job.
Penske dominance this
Good
weekend.
job, guys.
And here's the battle for 4th and 5th. Newgarden hangs on to 4th, and the points lead now is down to 32 points.
Look in the background, out of turn 14, here comes Scott Dixon. It was not the day that he was looking for. He does not clinch his 6th championship. This will be decided in sunny Florida on October 25th on the streets of St. Petersburg. Coming up next, it is the 145th running of the Preakness Stakes. Of course, the final element of the Triple Crown. And then tonight, Chris Rock hosts the season premiere of Saturday Night Live. Wonder if Will Power will stay up and watch that as he gets to crest the new dynamic podium and lift here. And this is the Advanced Auto Parts checkered flag moment. Will Power, 39th career win. He ties Al Unser for 5th all time. He's up there with Dixon on those massive career numbers as far as wins and pole positions. And he got put under pressure by the 20-year-old Colton Herta, coming hard and fast, but Power used his experience to hold off the young charge. And this is a weekend that has seen the captain's men, Team Penske drivers Joseph Newgarden and Will Power sweep this Firestone Harvest Grand Prix weekend. And there haven't been many, but the drivers who have crested this, they say it is very, very cool.
That's pretty cool. Look at that graphic there as Will Power ties Al Unser with 39 career wins. Dixon still at 50, chasing Mario and AJ.
It's just, I mean, the guys, they will tell you, it depends on the moment. They say, oh yeah, the numbers are the numbers. But when you get them at the right time, they do acknowledge it's pretty surreal to be up there with the greats of the sport of IndyCar. And Dylan Welsh is there to celebrate with Will Power.
And what a day. Domination. Don't know if that even describes it at all. 75 laps. And Will, how much did you have to push there at the end? Did you have anything left had Colton got to you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the tires had gone away. It was a very tough battle. I had to work very hard to keep him behind. Marco didn't make it easy. Yeah, just so happy to have Verizon, Chevy in victory lane again. Also, we had two Hondas trying to attack us there, but the Chevy had very good power and drivability, so yeah, over the moon to get another win, especially at this place.
Well, and you've had several races this year where it's been a lot of adversity you've had to overcome. How nice did it feel today to just have one where you did what you had to do, you had the clean air, and you just had to hold off Colton at the end?
Yeah, it was good not to get caught by yellow or something strange like that, and guys did great stops, and we had a very good car. We definitely improved on it from yesterday, and man, I just pushed so hard the whole race. Obviously we had to save fuel, but you're still pushing, you know, while lifting early into the corner. So yeah, fantastic day, fantastic day.
This win ties you with Al Unser for the most on the IndyCar wins list. What does that mean to you?
Oh man, like when you're talking about the names from around, it's just amazing. These people, absolute legends of the sport, and I could never have imagined having my name amongst such unbelievable historic drivers. I mean, all these guys I was a huge fan of when I was a kid, and they're kind of my heroes, so it's really cool to have my name up there.
Great day for sure. Will Power wins his second of 2020, his fourth on the Indy Road Course, Kevin.
Well, down here next to Colton Herta's car, and maybe you can kind of see all of the marbles in honor of our friend David Hobbs. Clag from just the leftover tire rim that's on the car, and that's how challenging it is to still find grip. Colton Herta chatting with Alexander Rossi. That's the rest of the podium. Second and third will start with Colton. Well, I know you'd rather have one more step, but now you finally have another place on the podium other than winning with the 3 wins. You were chasing him. What did you need to be able to catch and pass Power?
A little bit more tires. You know, I think the Capstone Green car was really good and happy to be powered by HPD. And obviously we had another Andretti 2-3, 2 cars on the podium, so I'm really excited about that. But just need a little bit more time and a little bit more tires. He was really fast. I don't think I could have gotten him today, though.
Alex, you were the only one in the last stint that was on the harder primary. What kind of challenges did you have? And by the way, I think this is 4 straight podiums, so congratulations.
Yeah, it's great for the 27 AutoNation Napa and Andretti Honda. It's been a role for us, which is good. We needed that. It's especially special to get a podium here during Breast Cancer Awareness Month for AutoNation. But yeah, we were the only car there on the last stint on the primaries. We had a really good pace in the second stint. On the black, so we thought maybe we'd give it a crack. Ultimately, this place is usually red heavy, so we tried to be different, tried to do it. Ultimately, I don't know that anyone had anything for Will today, so it was second versus third, and at least a teammate is joining us on the podium.
Well done. Colton, I want to go back to the battle that you had with Alex on track and being able to get this done. You'll see it here over to your left of just, not just today, but the whole weekend. Really good and really respectful racing. Talk us through this.
You can see bottom there a little bit on the front straight. So I had a little bit more speed going in, and it was pretty kind of like just a normal braking maneuver, I guess. Got at the inside. Broke a little bit deeper. That's a cool shot of the glowing brake disc, and yeah, just had the inside line, so it was pretty standard. But I knew I could get him if he went on to the blacks. I thought the reds were the better tires, so I thought I had a chance there at the end. I didn't expect to have that much pace to run down Will and then have a few shots at him, but yeah, unfortunately in the end, we didn't have a good enough car to really win the race today, and you know, we're happy with P2 though.
Thanks, Colton. Still third in the championship, Colton Herta, and also Alexander Rossi. Dylan.
And Joseph Newgarden was just chatting with Pato O'Ward about their spirited battle this afternoon. So a good weekend for you. Obviously won yesterday, didn't get the win today, but this is kind of the weekend you needed to take it down to St. Pete, isn't it?
We were a little shy, I would say, of where we needed to be. Man, if we could have had a phenomenal day like yesterday, we'd be in really good shape, but we were just mediocre today, you know. I think we had a car to compete with Will and Herta and Rossi there. Just, we didn't start up high enough. You know, the qualifying is really whatever. Excuse me, bless me.
the start yesterday, or today rather, how much of an impact did that have on just your progress and being able to move forward?
Yeah, that hurt too. You know, I got kind of buried on the inside. I tried to get as much as I could on the outside on this run, but then look at Santino's just gonna, you know, come running tight to me. He was fine. It just got tight, and like you said, I got pushed back a little too far. The key for us was being up higher earlier today. I had to work through a lot, just like Scott did, and you know, if we could have just had a clean qualifying run, I really think we would have had a better day. But I'm really thankful to Team Chevy. 2 wins here for Team Chevy this weekend. They did a phenomenal job. And then, you know, obviously having Hitachi's support is always big for us. So, look, we're in it with a shout. We can go to St. Pete now and try and win this championship. I just wish we were in a little closer position.
That's all you can ask for, though, is a shot. Good weekend overall for Joseph Newgarden. We'll bring Pato in here quickly as well. After a pretty dismal day yesterday, recovered nicely today with a top 5. How would you evaluate the day?
Yeah, yesterday was absolutely miserable. Today we got some decent points for the championship. I think we got pushed back to 5th in the championship. We were a little tight still with Colton and Will. You know, congrats to Will on the win, Colton in 2nd. I wish they were not in front of me. But you know what? We have one more race, and we're just going to give it hell in St. Pete. All we want to do now is try and win a race, and there's one left. So, you know, the start McLaren SP number 5 Chevrolet was good, but I think we need to improve on blacks. That's where we really lost it in that 2nd stint and couldn't really quite make it up back in reds.
That was the difference today for Pato. He comes home 5th. Kevin?
Well, the first thing we're going to see is the damage to the number 9 PNC bank car on the floor of the car for Scott Dixon. And then here we are up in the background a little bit. And let's find our boom mic. Where'd the boom mic go? There we go, to talk to Scott. So you took that contact. Did you notice it early on? What kind of impact did that have on your race?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was loose the whole race. So if it was being, you know, because of that, I think I made contact maybe a couple of times, once with Hunter-Ray, and then I think Charlie Kimball maybe and I got, you know, connected at some point there. But we tried everything that race. You know, we were flat out. It's pretty basic 2-stopper, so there wasn't much to do. So, you know, interesting day for us. I think we're, you know, 32 points out in the lead now. I think we have to be 9th or better come St. Pete. So, you know, still a lot of hard work here. And as always, the NTT IndyCar Series comes down to the final race, even without double points and the lead that we had over 100 points at one stage. So. Always proud to be, you know, powered by Honda. They've done a tremendous job this season, and hopefully we get that PNC Bank and Victory Circle in St. Pete this year.
You have cautioned all of us, even when it was at 117 points, you said this is not over. So what is the emotion here going in when it was pretty comfortable, and now it's, if disaster strikes, we're in trouble?
Yeah, definitely, but it goes both ways. So it's nice still to be on the leading side of the points at this stage. You know, it's still a good margin. Gives us a little bit of window. You know, he has to get most laps led. He has to get all the bonus points, the 4 bonus points, and we have to finish 9th. So, you know, they've been very good in St. Pete too for many years. So, you know, we're definitely going to have our work cut out. And, you know, obviously kudos to Team Penske and Joseph and you know, Will winning this weekend. They did a fantastic job. So, you know, we'll keep trying hard.
Plus 32 is still the position that every driver would like to be in going into the final race. A champion will be crowned. Will it be Scott Dixon for the 6th time coming up October 25th on the streets of St. Petersburg? Stay with us. More to come from Indianapolis on NBC Sports.
What an afternoon of sport we've enjoyed here on NBC with Premier League, IndyCar racing. Up next in a matter of minutes is the 145th running of the Preakness Stakes. And then later tonight, it's the season premiere of Saturday Night Live. Can't wait to see Chris Rock. You know it's going to be funny. So looking forward to that. The odds again, I think amongst the Paul Townsend and myself, we didn't go for authentic. We went 1,000 words, Swiss Skydiver, and Townsend had pneumatics. So we'll see how our collective tips fare as here on this beautiful podium they celebrate. Who will be celebrating on October 25th on the streets of St. Petersburg? Will it be the 2-time champion Joseph Newgarden? Will he be a 3-time champ? Or will this man here create a special piece of history, and for the first time in 45 years, be just the second driver to win 6. It all plays out in the most beautiful of venues. It's kind of like the Monaco of the United States. They're right by the water in St. Pete, so we will see how it happens. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell. Enjoyed a good afternoon and actually a great weekend here, but it all, and boys I should say, for the 15th year in a row, the title will come down to the final opportunity. Paul, you are an IndyCar champion. What do you make of that?
Well, it was an amazing weekend of racing all through the weekend, but I got to tell you, the points keep trending Townsend in the wrong direction. And if that was my stock portfolio and you were handling it, you'd be fired, man.
Well, you're not going to fire 5-time champion Scott Dixon as he tries to close in on his 6th. As we see Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, and Will Power celebrate on the podium today. But for me, I think you heard it in Scott Dixon's voice. He can't deny that that massive over 100-point lead has not totally, but largely eroded over the course of the last few races, and Newgarden smells blood. He'll be pushing so hard to the final lap at St. Pete.
There has to be a snapback at some point, and that snapback speaks to Scott Dixon's resilience. And as you may have noticed, he said, I've already done the calculations. Isn't that amazing? He's been out there racing, and he already knows in a matter of minutes coming back and getting out of the car that even if Joseph Newgarden gets maximum points in St. Petersburg, that Dixon can still win his 6th title if he finishes 9th or better, even if Newgarden gets all of those maximum points. So I'm going to put the pressure on you two. We've got a few weeks to relax and think about this, but Townsend, who, in your professional opinion, is going to do this?
I've been racing against Scott Dixon. Well, I was racing against him until I retired from IndyCar, but since 2000 in the Indy Lights Championship, one thing I learned about him back then that he hasn't lost any of is cool, calm, collected. He will be focused. He will make high percentage decisions all the way down the stretch.
Well, for me, I would have never put money on Scott Dixon struggling to just finish just inside the top 10. Momentum is everything in racing, and Joseph Newgarden has the momentum right now.
Never had an IndyCar race at the Brickyard in October, but this has been a beautiful fall weekend, and it has been a clean sweep by Team Penske. There's Will Power. He wins today. 4th win here at this venue and his 2nd on the season. Joseph Newgarden, the championship hopeful, won yesterday. Again, we guide you to October 25, championship finale in sunny Florida. Can't wait. Coming up, as you know, in a matter of minutes, next here on NBC, it's the Preakness Stakes, and later tonight, premiere of Saturday Night Live with host Chris Rock, musical guest Megan Thee Stallion. What a weekend here in Indy. Enjoy the Preakness. We'll see you in St. Pete in a few weeks.